Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for college football week 4. Brent from BetDSI, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook, of course, shares with us all the interesting betting action that he's seen over the course of the past week, including the notable sharp action, which has now been on Tulsa unders 3 weeks in a row and lost pretty badly all 3 weeks. Brent, did you notice that last week? Tulsa lost again on the under.
So just let me get this straight, Peter. The plays we talked about in the NFL show and the college football show went a combined 11-7 for like a 61% win percentage, and you want to complain about the egg we broke making the omelet.
That's absolutely right. No, I'm not really complaining. I'm just sort of wondering out loud, who is this sharp who keeps betting on Tulsa unders every week and being on the wrong side of it? Let's be honest. 3 weeks in a row. Maybe it was just a bad luck and he was just way on the wrong side of variance in this situation. But it's definitely very interesting, which is what this show is about. It's about interesting line moves, interesting action, and interesting results. Right, Brent?
I'm glad you mentioned this simply because, part of the reason this show is, do we send out more winners than losers? Absolutely. I think we've proven that long term. The goal of the show isn't really like, give me some free picks or kind of thing. It's more about the market and how things are going. But like if you look at the Air Force Michigan, for example, we had Air Force plus 25.5 and the under 54 was where we had the sharp plays come in. Now that line closed 23 and it closed at 52.5 and 52. Right. Now, if you look at the Tulsa-Toledo game that we talked about, at the time we did the show, the sharp play was under 73.5, and when we did the show, the line was 67.5, right? Now, if you take a look at game day, that line got bet way back up to 73.5. So if you're sitting at home watching this line creep back up to where we started in terms of the show, you've got to know that someone sharp came in the other way. And that's kind of, we talk about things, hey, look for this on game day, look for that on game day. These are the kind of things that we talk about and say, you should kind of look for this and see what happens with it. And lo and behold, sharp money came back the other way.
Absolutely. That's a great point. There is a lot of late money that comes in on these games. A perfect example of that was the Texas-Maryland game in week 1. And absolutely. So that's something you want to look at. All I'm saying is the guy who bet the under in the Air Force game, keep that guy on the list. Guy who bet the under in the Tulsa games all these 3 weeks, get him off the list. That's my recommendation.
And what if it's the same guy, Peter?
That's you got me. You cornered me there. Checkmated me there, Brent from BetDSI. All right, so let's get into the college games this week. First, very, very interesting. Talk about like back and forth line movement. First game I'm going to ask you about is TCU and Oklahoma State. And there has just been a ton of line movement on this line all week long. It opened at about 12.5, and right now it's sitting at about 12.5. But that's not because there's been no line moves. Gone all the way over the place. It first went down to 11, then I saw it go up to 13, then I saw it go back down after that to 10.5. Then after that, I saw it go all the way back up to 14, and now it's settled in right at 12.5 where it's open. So obviously a huge game here, a ton of market movement that we've seen on this game. My question is that big public action's been driving that, or are there sharps on both sides of this game?
There's respectable money on both sides, and there's public money on both sides. There isn't a list guy on this game up to this point. We are sitting at 12.5 and a total of 71, so the total has got bet up a little bit. But yeah, the line's kind of ping pong back and forth just because you get difference of opinions. Now, my wager count is almost 2-1 favoring the favorite Oklahoma State, which that's really no surprise at all because you kind of expect the public to go with the higher scoring team, and they're at home, they're the favorite. They're supposed to win, they're expected to win. So yeah, go ahead and lay it. So but my money's very, very close, even though my count's almost 2-1 favoring Oklahoma State, and just more bets on Oklahoma State from the public and respectable money on both sides. So not no sharp plays on either side right now. 12.5 and 71 is where we're sitting. We're basically balanced on this game. It's a real good spot for us.
All right. Well, that sounds good. I guess I'm a little bit surprised because I just saw usually you don't see as many big swings in a line as I've seen when you look at the line history over the week. Did you notice that there has been more swings on this game than normal, or did that not catch your eye?
No, it's kind of a game by game basis. And I know, Georgia, Mississippi State is not one of the games that we have on the list to talk about, but we've got sharp guys on both sides of that game at like -4, -05, and then +6. So you get cases that a lot of times where lines just going to bounce back and forth and a sharp money driving it either way.
All right, so no notable sharp action on TCU Oklahoma State. Now, in contrast to TCU and Oklahoma State, I want to ask about Alabama Vanderbilt, because that's another game where the line where it's sitting right now is exactly the same as where it opened, 18.5. But in contrast to TCU Oklahoma State, there's been no movement on this line up at all, which also kind of surprised me, just because since Alabama's involved, usually the public, I'm assuming, bets Alabama overwhelmingly and will at least move that line a little bit, or some big public money. And especially just on a personal level, since I personally thought that Alabama minus 18.5 was a pretty good bet. But considering how little line movement we've seen market wide on this game, I'm guessing maybe there's not even that much action on it. But Alabama is still ranked number one, an awesome team. Is the public all over Alabama here or not?
Are you starting to doubt yourself, Peter? When the line doesn't move your way, you wonder what's going on?
My results this year have given me only more confidence.
Oh, wow. As if you needed any of that, huh?
That's right. Yeah, but I am surprised. I just am surprised that there hasn't been any movement at all on this line.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest with you, I could go, 19.5, no problem, and I'd still probably get more wagers on Alabama. Right now, my wager count is like 3, call it 3-1 favoring Alabama, so no surprise there. You're getting the home dog with kind of a decent spread right there in terms of catching 18.5. You see the total hasn't moved almost at all. Even the total, I'm like dead even in terms of my wager count and my money. Like I said, I do have more money on Alabama. I do have a higher wager count on Alabama as well. But it's nothing where, like, at this point, I really need to move off the number. And again, if I went from 18.5 to 19, what would happen? Well, probably nothing. Would probably keep going the same way. But yeah, I don't have any sharp money either way on this one.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I assume if you had any sharp money at all, we would have seen at least some movement on this line. We haven't seen any, which again is surprising. But again, as we said in the beginning of this show, on game day, anything can happen. All bets are off. So we could see a big move in favor of Alabama, in favor of Vanderbilt. We'll see where this line closes. As of right now, no notable movement and no notable sharp action on that game. I'm liking Alabama, though, and it's just interesting because over the week I've seen a lot more general opinion supporting Vanderbilt than I would have expected. So it's an interesting game. Then the next game we have to talk about is probably the most interesting and most debated line of the week, and that is Michigan on the road at Purdue. And it's interesting, of course, because Michigan is a little bit weaker than they have been in years past, and Purdue 3-0 ATS, and all three of those ATS covers have come by huge margins. Purdue just blasting their spreads and their market valuation right now. And the question is just, is that likely to happen a fourth week in a row? I don't think that the sharps have bet that way, because the line actually has moved in Michigan's favor. It opened at about 8.5. Now it's up to 10 and hasn't moved much since there. So I'm assuming if there had been any sharp action on Purdue, it would have at some point taken a jump down. What can you tell us about Michigan against Purdue?
So that weak Michigan team is undefeated so far, right? I just wanted to get that straight. Okay.
But not ATS. The Sharps beat them last week, as you told us.
Well, they beat the teams that they put in front of them. We are sitting at 10.5 right now. I mean, we opened up at 9, and we're sitting at 10.5 right now. Total sitting at 59, which is just a tick lower than where it opened up. So nothing really to write home about. I actually have like slightly more wagers on the under, which kind of surprises me, just because we always get more bets on the over from the public. But in terms of like my actual wager count, I'm as even as you can be, really. And my money, slightly favors Michigan, but nothing to write home about. I did start taking action, basically when it, the lower number, I took a couple decent hits at like 9 and 9.5, and that's how we're up to 10.5 and kind of joined everybody up there. At 10.5, I've actually got a little bit more money back on Purdue. So it seems like that's kind of a number that's going to work for me right now. Now, again, as you mentioned, the sharps could come in and spoil all that. But right now, I don't have any sharp action on this. Like I said, at 10.5, I've got good two-way action, slightly more favoring Purdue. So it could be 10.5 is the number that works for us.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of expecting you to say, because you can make such a strong case for either side here. Now, if by kickoff we see a strong move one way or the other, that's probably, I'm assuming we can assume that is a sharp action. Like if by kickoff Purdue is 7.5, or if by kickoff Michigan is like minus 12.5 or something like that, that's probably a strong indication that that's sharp action, right?
Yeah, I would say, the public generally is going to bet a team like Michigan, so I would expect them to, if this number kind of ticks up like a half point or a point, yeah. But if it if it takes some big jumps and closes like 12.5, 13, then I would say sharp money's behind that.
Right. Okay, Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much for that great information. 3 interesting betting scenarios that we've got, and also 3 games that I think they're paying close attention to the closing lines on. What can you tell us about other notable action from college football week 4 that you've seen?
Yeah, I've got a lot of action again, and again, Peter, anytime you pipe in and cut me off like you usually do, feel free.
I'm going to go from as long as you have enough air and enough water that you'll be able to communicate the information to us. That's all we care about here.
I know you don't refer to rotation numbers at all, but I'm going to go from top to bottom as usual with the stuff I've got. Starting with Wake Forest and App State, the total play there was on the over 46, where the came in. That line did get up to 49.5 yesterday. We're back down to 49, so just a little nudge back under, but 46 is where the first sharp bet came in. A side for you would be down to Georgia Tech. They're at home to Pitt. Pretty much 9.5 or 10 across the board right now on Georgia Tech. But I did get sharp money on Georgia Tech, -8 at home there. Down to another total for you is South Carolina and Louisiana Tech. We're sitting at 53 right now on that total. So that was quite a big jump from the 57.5 where the Sharps came in. So Lou Tech at South Carolina under 57.5 is where the Sharps came in there. Again, like a 4.5 point move on this one. Some chalky favorites for you that the Sharps liked as well. West Virginia is the first one. They are on the road at Kansas, and Sharps came in -20.5 on West Virginia. That line is actually 22 right now, pretty much across the board. Another total here for you. Central Florida and Maryland. I've got the under on this one, under 64. That one's down to, it came down to like 59.5 yesterday. We're back up to 60 right now. So it's kind of crept back up a bit, but under 64 is where I took sharp money on this one. A couple of small dogs who are now small favorites. First one is Miami of Ohio. They're at Central Michigan. You're saying, yeah, you grabbed that one as well, Peter?
Yes, I did. I was onto that one, but let's not get too excited here. I also in my morning show on Monday gave out Kansas +20.5, and then as the week went on, I started to tell everyone I'm starting to feel less and less good about this one, and now I'm going to take it back as soon as this call is over. But yeah, Miami of Ohio, I jumped on early. I like that.
Yeah, one. Miami of Ohio. That's 339 rotation. Like I said, they're on the road at Central Michigan, but now like a 1.5 point favorite basically across the board, and +2 is where the Sharps came in and grabbed Miami, Ohio. Almost exact same situation here as with Charlotte. Charlotte is at home to Georgia State. They were a +2 dog where the Sharps came in, and now they also are a -1.5 point favorite. So I got two teams in Miami, Ohio, and Charlotte who the Sharps grabbed at +2, and both of those teams right now are -1.5 point favorites. I think yesterday they were at pick, so I would imagine that some Sharps came in elsewhere and hit both of those games. Some more chalk for you is Indiana. Indiana at home to Georgia Southern. Sharp money was on Indiana -23. And again, yesterday we were 24.5. We're back down to 24 right now, but still a lot of money one way on Indiana. One of those games I kind of expected you to talk about is Notre Dame at Michigan State. I guess you didn't have you're not personally financially invested in this one, so you didn't want to talk about it on your list of games, Peter. But I do have.
No, I have to only. I think the 3 games that I picked are like very, very interesting for various reasons. But obviously, in my dream scenario, we would talk about every single game, Brent.
These various reasons that they interest you, I think they all have everything to do with your bankroll.
Yes. In my fantasy life, we talk about every single game, and it's an 8-hour show.
Well, Notre Dame at Michigan State. I do have dog money there. The home dog. They bet Michigan State when it's +4, -05. Now that line is either like 3.5 dog 15 or like 3 favorite 15 right now. So that's moved, quite a bit from the 4 right on to 3 pretty much across the board. So Michigan State +4, -05 where the sharp action came in there. Another chalky side for you is also home favorite would be Tulsa. Tulsa -9 is where they came in. The Sharps on that one. That line is sitting at we see like it's is like a 10.5 and 11 pretty much everywhere across the board right now. They are at home to New Mexico. And last but not least, we got to get a Pac-12 game in there, and it usually has to do with USC. And the case is the same here. USC this week is at Cal. Right now they're a 17-point favorite, and we took sharp action on USC -15. Peter.
Wow. All right. That is that it? That's all you got this week?
Yeah, I mean, that's all I got. I think that's a bevy.
I mean, it's blowing my mind here. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, I also gave Cal on Monday, and I also started to feel like that was the wrong side as the week wore on, and I'm thinking we're going to pull that one as well. The Wake Forest over, very, very interesting. I was thinking the under was a good bet on that one. Now it's up to a 49. Interesting that an Appalachian State game against Wake Forest. Normally that would be a very low-scoring game, but sharp action came on the over. The Louisiana Tech under, I definitely agree with. I even like it at the current line of a 53. And I don't know, the Maryland game, under 64, I was kind of liking the over at 59. Definitely agreeing, though, on Indiana minus 23. Very, very interesting information, Brent. As always, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Brent, again, is the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. We'll talk to you next week for College Football Week 5, Brent.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.